right. Apologizing for being a few minutes late here. A lot of things happening, so I'd like to welcome those for those of you keeping count. This is week 14 here, and the weekly meeting for the 61 Main Street project. A lot happening out there. I think it just works so well to just have Ryan give us our update for schedule, and then I'll have some closing comments as I seem to always do. So with that, if you would, Ryan, kind of give us a preview of what's going on here.
Sure, Corey. Thank you. Where we're at right now, we still have Bush and Potter closed with Plum open. That's going to last until Wednesday around noontime, where we're going to switch that. We're going to close Plum, open Bush and Potter up, and it'll be that way for about a week. The evening of the 21st, we're going to flip traffic from the north side of the road to the south side of the road. And we got all kinds of work going on to make all that happen. Of course, this is still weather dependent. I know we've got 1.5 inches rain looming out there right now, so hopefully we're able to keep this schedule, but I think it's pretty much set in stone at this point that that's what we're going to do.
All right. Thanks, Ryan. So yeah, we've been kind of forecasting this Plum Street closure here, and I think we're narrowing it down. We're starting to control some of the variables. There's numerous of them, but we're shooting for tomorrow. Like as Ryan mentioned, around that noon time. There's some temp pavement that has to take place. That's scheduled for tonight. Again, the weather will play into that potentially. So there is some, it's going to happen as soon as we're able, and it's going to likely happen tomorrow at some point. So I'll get a press release out here today, and we can look forward to that. And as the message has been, and just to reiterate, when Plum closes, we're planning to do the exact same configuration we had a few weeks ago. All the traffic control, the revisions, the overhead signing, the speed trailers. It's going to be a mirror image of that, and we had success with that. And so I think we're hopeful that we have a similar success. And so that's what the detour will be. It'll be down to Bush Street. And signed appropriately, and Potter will be open again for relief to Bush and to accommodate ADM, and we're anticipating that Plum stays closed until we make this big north side flip. And Ryan mentioned right now we're scheduled to have that take place on the 21st of June, so which is next week already, and so that at that time when we make that flip, then Plum Street would be reopened, and then we would be proposing to close Bush and Potter on the north side. Really, Potter doesn't exist, but for sure Bush on the north side, and then the intersection through Potter on the north, and Plum Street would be open, and that will then allow us to start it all over again on the north. Start the removals at Broad and work east, allow Meyer to start the remaining utility work, and then start to grade the road. And we're planning to build the north side just a mirror image of the south. Meyer is going to work up to Plum Street, and we're going to close Plum, get the Plum utilities and grading done while we open Bush and Potter, and then we'd flip back to Plum, and then the Doyle would come through and do the paving up to Plum. And so the preference is going to be that Plum is open as much as possible, still understanding we have to do work within it. And so we're proposing to just be a mirror image of how the south side's taken shape. And then certainly there's remaining things that we haven't yet got to with the trees and the lighting, and actually having that surface stuff come together. But and so we'll hash that out more and give you schedules and things. But the two critical dates are tomorrow, Plum Street closes, and then next week we're anticipating to make the big flip. And so things are progressing. Another piece to be aware of is there's a lot of sidewalk work yet to go. We're aware of that, and it's a real balance right now with schedule of what's the critical work and maybe what's work that can wait. Arguably once we even get to the north side, and so we're working through that. The preference is to get the sidewalk along the buildings in first. They're pouring that today. That's going to continue to be the critical path, as well as once we close Plum, getting Plum poured. But just be aware there's likely going to be some holes here and there even in the next week on the south side that we're deeming less critical, to not hold schedule back for those pieces. Probably the biggest one you'll see is this tree grade area we're referring to, that 4 feet between the sidewalk along the building and the back of curb. That's not all likely going to be patched together yet once we switch to the north side. So we're just being really mindful of schedule and being really mindful of business access. And with those two things in consideration, we're finding what we believe to be the best path to keep this thing moving forward. So there's just a lot going on. There's a lot of work out there and a lot of different components, and August isn't all that far away yet. So those are what we're working towards, and as always, appreciate the patience and stuff with the schedule, and think we have a good plan in place. So beyond that, there's been some discussion. Father's Day is this weekend. We've been talking about the car show for a couple different weeks now, and we pursued some alternate options last week, and that kind of got their things stirred up a little bit. There's a little misunderstanding of what car show we were exactly referencing, and the Father's Day one is the long-standing one, and it's always taking place downtown, and we're accommodating that. So there'll be a Sunday-only detour to allow that car show to go on as it always does, and so that's all in place. That's been approved, and I guess travelers just look for that. So both Plum and Bush will be closed on Sunday.
We're detouring our detour route.
Yeah, we're detouring our detour. So to add to the confusion of everything, but
Just to let you know, that'll be back on 4th Street and using East and West Avenue.
Yep.
So.
And that's taking place Sunday morning, right before the show, and we're taking it off right after the show. We're doing it as short of a window as possible. We have our the contractor that's doing all our detouring. He's helping us with that. We have changeable message signs, so it's about as well done as we can do it, considering it's going to be just about 12 hours or so. So, but we felt it was the right call to make, and I think it should
good
be
to keep the car show down.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Amongst the businesses, so that's good.
Right. So look for that, and then I don't know if I had much else really, Jay.
I was just going to talk a little bit about, we had a lot of discussion with this traffic switch that's coming tomorrow and then again next week. There was talk about how turn lanes and where we're going to be able to provide turn lanes with this. You know, we've got some of the main line paved. Now we have to put in some temporary paving to create turn lanes. So we're still kind of discussing exactly how that's all going to come together, but we'll keep you updated by the maps that I send out weekly that show where the turns are available, what movements are available at each intersection. So we'll keep updating those maps and getting them out to the main event group and to the newspaper. They've been posting it, and then also just our project webpage. So we're still kind of working that through. We know the dates of the switches and the traffic moves, and then we'll also update our traffic maps as we have to, because as we're getting into this, we find out certain amount of room is needed for paving, so that impacts where we can have a turn lane and what we can temp pave. So, but we'll keep everyone informed and updated as we go along with press releases that Corey mentioned. So.
You know, the real benefit about being on the north side now is certainly for southbound, every intersection's open, and so we're aware that's going to be the case. So that right turn is going to be available to all those side streets now. The challenge is just that northbound movement. How do you get that left turn for those folks to come downtown? And so we're aware of the need for that, and like Jay said, we're just kind of working through the details of that. And then obviously we're aware of Plum Street, no loop there, and so that is a new impact that we have to be cognizant of eventually, is that we don't have a third street on the north side to help with that feeding. So we have Plum Street, a dead end street on the north, and so there's just a few little things we got to work through, and but just can't solve them all at one time, unfortunately. So we just step by step, I guess, and as Jay mentioned, the first steps are kind of these critical dates, and then we'll give the final details on things. But
and then Corey mentioned there's this infill that's going to need to go with the sidewalk between the walkway and the back of curb, kind of in that tree grade area and the poles. And there'll be work that probably we'll have, toward the end will be outside lane closures, where we close the outside lanes and work on both sides of the highway, trying to finish up planting trees and whatever else it might be, and pouring the last of the concrete or whatever. So there will be work kind of similar to last year's phase where we did outside lane closures to finish things off. I think we did outside lane closures when we set light poles and things like that. So it'll be good at that point when we get there to just see the outside lanes closed, because then we know we've got middle poured and the middle lane, left turn lane poured, and we're real close to being done. So
Right.
but don't think that you'll see things not done and you're wondering, well, they're working on the other side and they still haven't finished concrete and different things on the south side, but we're working toward that.
So no, that's a perfect note. Yeah. So with that, are there any questions at all? Do you have any concerns, Patty? Or
I do. I just want to thank you for working through that Father's Day car show. My office was just crazy last week with all the businesses going, what is going on? It's not going to happen. It is. It isn't. So there's a lot of confusion out there, and the businesses are really appreciative that was able to run as scheduled and how it has in the past. So thank you guys all for all your work on that. We really appreciate it.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we apologize for that. I mean, we just basically talked to the organizers just about other options, and then once we found out that it didn't make a lot of sense to move it, we made it clear that no, we'll keep it here. We'll get it set up. But I think in the meantime, the organizers had talked to others, and it got stirred up. That's why you were getting phone calls. But it was really just a short conversation talking about options, and once those options were exhausted, we said, okay, we'll keep it downtown. So I do apologize for that stirring up in all your phone calls, but yeah, because I got a few phone calls and a few emails as well, and I answered those, and I think we're making the best decision here to spend a little money to do a little bit different signage and keep it downtown. So.
We did do a beat walk last week, and so I've got some notes that I'll be sending off to you guys. There's just some concerns. Each business had some specific things that they had questions on, so I'll get those sent off to you here shortly.
Yep, that sounds good. And we've got a few other things to follow up with some businesses as well on our agenda today. So get those out to us, and we'll check into them.
All right.
Any other questions? Or we can talk afterward. I've got some Red Wing Shoe representatives here. I'm sure we're going to look at some of the phasing with them and their trucks. So.
Can you do a quick levy roll update?
Yeah, Ryan, why don't you take off on that? We talked a little bit this morning.
Levy Road. Let's see, we've got most of that road prepped now. We're pouring some curb and gutter in the parking lot today for the harbor marina there. And I guess in the last week, it's really come a long ways with just the road stabilization and building that road up in front of the Eric's place. Really, that's kind of we're focusing our attentions up on 61 and getting as much concrete poured on 61 as we can. But that one's we're working down there as well when it makes sense. And the concrete paving, it sounds like they're going to probably try to get another lane poured through on that later this week, I think they said. Mm-hmm. And then it'll just keep coming along as we go next couple of weeks, and that thing will look a lot different.
It's what we heard from your subcontractor, the concrete, Doyle Concrete, is their focus is on Main Street. But while they have crews here and work to do, they're doing things. I mean, so they were down there pouring this morning and doing some curb and gutter, but then their crews will move back up when their forms are set and they're ready to pour sidewalk or whatever. But so they're staying in town, just working from project to project with the Main Street being the focus right now.
Right.
So.
And down there, all the utility work's done, so it's really just prepping and getting ready for paving and finishing touches on that one.
Yeah.
Landscaping won't be that far behind, and there's some asphalt to pour down there, and I think we'll just keep moving that one forward as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
The trail is awesome.
Yeah, the trails, I've been on that as well. I like that trail bit. Yeah. Yeah. Take a look at it's going to be nice to have that separated trail down along there with it. As you see right now with the trucks that are out on the road, that's always been our way to walk. And I'm thinking, boy, now that trail is just going to be just a great amenity to have. So that's all I had, Corey.
Yeah, that's all I got.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you, and
Yep. Thanks
see
for
you
coming.
next week.